President Vladimir Putin at the G20 summit follows the identification of the 8th person in the room for that meeting between Russians Donald Trump Jr., Jared Kushner, and Paul Manafort. Earlier tonight, I spoke with Connecticut Democratic Senator Richard Blumenthal, who sits on the Senate Judiciary Committee, which is investigating aspects of the Russia story, and just got the green light to hear from Donald Trump Jr. and Jared Kushner.
This 8th individual, who represented a family with potential financial or other ties to the Russians, is part of this pattern of concealment beginning in June, but going through even the period before and after the election and the inauguration.
Back now with the panel. Mike, one of the things that Trey Gowdy, I think it was, said last week, which was, who's certainly a supporter of the president, said anybody in the White House who's had a meeting should just tell the special prosecutor, just get it, a special counsel Mueller, just get it out of the way. It does seem like this, it's such a cliche to talk about the drip, 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 but it doesn't help the White House, does it?
No, I agree with that, and I think they're going through the process of trying to figure this out. But people forget about things that they did. Claire McCaskill forgot she'd met with the Russian ambassador, so did Nancy Pelosi. So they're trying to, from what I can see, gather this information. But look, I think the bigger context of what was going on, did the Trump campaign collude and all that sort of thing. I wasn't on the Trump campaign, but I had a front row seat to it, and there was times when the Trump campaign had a difficult time colluding with the RNC. Had a difficult time. This was a campaign that doesn't look like other campaigns because the candidate was the communications director, the campaign manager. The campaign won because Donald Trump had a message and a vision and got it to the American people, and he didn't have a traditional campaign structure underneath him. I don't think that campaign could have colluded if they wanted to.
But it's your point. I actually agree with that, but that's the point that I find so dangerous. I have no idea whether anybody committed a crime, and I'm not asserting such. What concerns me is the arrogance, the naivete, and how uninformed they were to think that they could be compromised. You had two previous administrations that were somehow bollocksed up by Vladimir Putin, and then Donald Trump thinks he can just waltz right in and he's going to have this great relationship.
Sure, but who's responsible at that time? If he's a candidate and there's something going on, then the Obama administration is responsible for actually watching who's coming into the country, who's trying to take meetings with people. Yes, the campaign should have vetted people. They should have kept better records. But it wasn't a sophisticated campaign.
But even now, even having whatever the substance of this meeting, I would love to believe that they had a separate meeting where he talked about, read in the Riot Act and all the things the United States was going to do if they continued meddling. I just can't believe that that's actually the case. He keeps putting himself, and they put themselves in a position to be compromised in a way that I think was dangerous, and he's so concerned, the president is, with the sense that he will be seen as illegitimate, that he doesn't do the hard work of answering all questions about this.
With this Trump Tower meeting, every former intelligence person we've had on the broadcast has said this raises all sorts of questions. It sort of looks like a classic espionage operation. Again, we don't know. The principals all deny any contact with the government. But even the fact that if a questionable meeting isn't reported, that should raise red flags, because then the Russians know something that the U.S. side doesn't know. Right? Just throwing it out there.
But can I just raise just one thing that I hasn't gotten talked about a lot about this Russia meeting, that there was a document that was turned over by one of the Russian people there. The Donald Trump Jr. has said, oh, well, the meeting was useless, but there was a document that was turned over. Where is it? Who saw it? What became of it? What does it say? That certainly.
How do we know that?
It was implicating.
Well, that was one of the Russians or the Russian American lobbyist said that
implicating Bill Browder and his ties to the DNC. But you go back to the credibility problem that this administration has. You have a president who called his son transparent. The few words that he used to describe him in his first statement following news about this meeting was that my son is very transparent. Drip, drip, drip. Every single day we hear about another person who met the undisclosed person who was in this meeting. None of these people were adoption agency officials. It's a ruse to say this was a meeting about adoptions, just like it's a ruse for President Trump to be tweeting about this dinner, saying that this was a dinner and everyone knew about it. No, this isn't about the dinner.
Up next, we're going to shift gears.